Welcome, folks. Day 7. This is 1 week, 1/4 of a moon cycle. And so when we're in this first week, the enthusiasm can sometimes carry us through. I know mine did for a few days, and then generally like where the intentions come in. Why am I doing this? And then future self veto, which we talked about yesterday, is like the coffee thing came up this morning big time. And then there's this like why. It's like, okay, I'm gonna have energy, I'm gonna be happy, I'll be enthused. Okay, can I get that outside of coffee? Yes. So I just kind of allowed myself to think about it, and then went right to a tea bag of black tea, 40 milligrams. I was talking about this yesterday. 2 tea bags of mate, which are about 40 milligrams each. So we're up to about 120 milligrams. And I started to have this kratom drink, and then I just stopped and said, that's a good start, because I'm trying to stay. I told you yesterday, the clearing of the coffee stimulant. Coffee's like a smoky, unclear stimulation. And then that got wiped away the last, today's day 10, no coffee. And so that's been cleared away, and the other forms of caffeine are more clear about the effect on the body, I could just say. And please watch yesterday's video where it's like this. I can do it again today. Once you see this, you're like, oh my God, I understand. So the background right now is what my awareness is like on coffee. Just sort of blurry, not quite as clear. And then the other day, this happened. And it just cleared up. It was like I got clear about absolute candor. I talked about that also, absolute self-honesty, that this is not doing things for me outside of mouth entertainment. And so that's sort of today's topic is gateways of release. What are gateways of release? This is a Dan Millman term from the Way of the Peaceful Warrior work, which is about 30 years old now. It came out in the 90s. And if you haven't read Dan Millman, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, I just went to Google Images, and he has a bunch of new books that I haven't even seen. So I'm definitely going to be checking out some of his newer work. He was the first enlightened man I met in a bookstore in my 20s, and I was seeking enlightened masters, or, whatever enlightenment was or is. And he was in San Luis Obispo. He was doing a book signing. I shook his hand, and he looked at me, and it was the first person in my life that didn't look at me. He looked through me. It was like I was transparent, and I felt naked, just naked. Like I had this voice in my head that said, you can't hide anything from this man. He knows what's going on just by your body language, probably. So it was like, wow, I want a piece of that. So it motivated me, inspired me to go to the next step. And then after The Way of the Peaceful Warrior book came out, he had The Sacred Journey, which was the follow-up, which was actually a prequel. And then there was a book that I think I put it on today's email list. I'll put it on there. I think it's called No Ordinary Moments. That's right, the name of his book. No Ordinary Moments. And there was a workout book called the something of the Peaceful Warrior. And so he had a whole set. He's quite popular for a while there in the 90s. And so we're going to go into that today. So mouth entertainment, for me, the coffee is mouth entertainment. There's a little bit of like the fresh cardamom, which I put in the black tea today. And generally dark teas like black tea, coffee, roasted dandelion, they're going down and their energy is sinking, because black is the color of the kidney. It's also the color of darkness, right? And then the lighter teas like green tea, mate, matcha, the white and green kratoms, they're a top note, so they lift up. And then the coffee and the black tea theoretically and that's why you add the honey and the cream for some people to weigh it down a little more, so you're not up here disembodied, as I was speaking to yesterday. So mouth entertainment is basically the way our society lives. We're programmed, like if you give a rat enough sugar to eat itself to death, it will eat itself to death. And ponder that and life on Earth. You give humans enough tasty foods, Domino's, fast food. I'm going to pick on most of what you guys are eating, anything in a package. It's not going to help your life. It takes more energy to process it than you're getting back from it. Therefore, it's a terrible return on investment. And then this term came in about 5-10 years ago. This is just mouth entertainment. So ponder that. All right, and then the other thing to go over today quickly, I'm going to keep this short today, is I'm doing it at 2:30 in the afternoon too, because tonight I'm leading a Gender Alkemy group. And if that excites you, then go to the website and look under natural law, and there's a sub-tab to the side called Gender Alkemy. And Gender Alkemy is, it doesn't mean we're studying gender. It means that men and women are getting together, and whatever you want to call yourself, non-binary, whatever you can show up to. And then we explore theme topics. So like tonight, we're going to talk about discernment and how self-care brings about better clarity and discernment. That's kind of, then the women will speak their turn, the men will speak their turn. Generally, it's been smallish, 4 to 6 people, but ideal size is 8 to 12 anyway. So it'll grow. And then if you're interested, just let me know. You can get on the email list. I've got like 4 or 5 email lists that are sort of tailored to what each group wants. So that way you're not getting spam from the general newsletter. Okay, so I'm doing it now because I won't be back from that until 9:30, 10. And I'm trying to work this bedtime. Like last night was still, oh, I'd taken a nap. Yeah, that was it. And I was up till 12:30 last night. And then, sleep has not been an issue. Slept from like 12:30 until about 9:30 today, 9:30. And that's a good 9 hours. Didn't feel refreshed, but pulled myself out of it because I had an appointment. And so gateways of release. I think this is kind of a whiteboard thing. So let's show you guys gateways of release and how it relates to maybe chi that they would call in the Orient. Okay. So we're going to maximize this and then get our tool set back. All right. So let's just start off with gateways of release. And we have to define the term. So we could say it's the unconscious, and then we'll put mostly, because some people are doing it consciously, and that's fine too. It's the unconscious mostly of a, we'll put it in quotes, of a letting off the pressure in the pressure cooker in our earth suit. So we have this energy body, and I've been working on building up mine for a lot of years. So you could say if my chi field was, we'll put this in maybe orange, used to be that big. Okay. If that used to be my chi, in other words, that was my sum of life force. You could say vital force was in today's email, or chi or prana, or you could say energy. So that's before early life Craig, we'll say. And then we'll say, okay, we did some work. So let's do a red arrow. So then we do some work. And we'll say life practices. Then we go, okay, that's yoga, that's food, that's sleep, that's activity, that's meditation, it's awareness work, awareness play, let's say. And we should say inquiry into fear. There we go. So that's all the life practices there, some of them at least. And then we can say, okay, now we have that same thing. Now my chi is, that should be orange. Now my chi is this big. So, and then we can say that's the life force now. Later life Craig, life force higher. How do I know this? That's a good question, right? How do I know that my life force is higher? So this is a public talk, and I don't mind putting myself out there. So if I ejaculate now, I don't have a catastrophic fatigue afterwards. When I was a teenager, young man in my 20s, I would ejaculate and usually have to nap, minimum half hour, maybe 20 minutes. So I was just dead. I mean, I could push through it, but it was just tired. And life force, that's a gateway of release. Ejaculation is one of the gateways of release, and that'll be the next slide. What are the gateways of release? So there are unconscious ways that we let the pressure out. And so when we make it conscious, then we're at choice. So coffee for me became a gateway of release because I realized I had more energy and more anxiety off of coffee than I did on. And a client of mine just said that about her life. She said that coffee is like her Adderall. So if you take a stimulant and it calms you down, you're in what's called a reversal. And you need to figure out why. It's usually a trauma, a scar, a severe toxicity. There's a couple of things you can look for. And that's called a reversal in applied kinesiology or muscle testing. And I apply that to my practice too. If you take a downer and you get stimulated, or you take an upper and you go down, that's what's called a reversal, and it needs to be dealt with, the root cause why. So I also know I have more energy in general during the day. I don't fall asleep during the day. I don't get to that point where I have to take a nap nearly as often, maybe 100 times less than I did 30 years ago. How do I know my life force is higher? My voice is stronger. Generally, my sex drive is 50-fold stronger and more harmonized. Illnesses, I don't get sick anymore, and that's a knock on wood. I've been sick about 15 years. I get imbalanced, but illness to me is something now that I realize I cause myself. No more victim. That's sort of cooked out of me. So gateways of release, we're gonna save that. By the way, the whiteboards are by request. I haven't done a whiteboard download into the YouTubes yet, but we will get a whiteboard folder if you'd like to get access to these. So we'll clear the drawing now. I'm gonna go back to the gateways of release. Let's do that in black. So gateways of release. Okay, so what are they? So we have fear-based movies. I'll go down and just kind of channel fear-based movies, fearful situations, addictions, all types, exercise to excess, sex to excess, TV we could say TV and internet, and phone, and we'll just say device addiction. Kind of getting the gist. Abuse of others. Abusive people are often abusing themselves, and it spills out. If you see somebody judging you or being abusive, imagine in their world it's 100 times to 1,000 times worse. I try to imagine that. Driving fast in traffic. Excess. Well, I could say excess sleep, but that's not necessarily, because excess sleep just brings you more energy in the end. How about excess stimulants? So there are ways, we can put it in sort of a text format here. So gateways are ways we lower our inner tension and polarity to feel more comfortable. So what we need, solution, is one, to be able to hold more energy. And that's where your nerve insulation is vital. And that's your cholesterol, saturated fat, and protein-rich foods. And protein-rich foods. So one example would be butter, egg yolks, organ meats. If you're a vegan, you're kind of you're going to be able to get the saturated fat from your coconut oils and your palm oils, at least, and maybe some cacao butter. And then your protein-rich foods, as a vegan, that were more anti-radiation, and you're a little bit screwed because you really need that. The cholesterol is a big, sterile, waxy, and it sucks up all the radiation in the environment. So you need that insulation, and so you'd want to focus on fatty foods, avocados, and things that build fat in the body, the oats and wheat, well soaked and even eaten raw and sprouted. And then the other solution is to get on your spiritual journey and build awareness, and not do the, well, on this side of the whiteboard, not do the gateways, and to sit and feel the energy build in our being. And one of those ways to do that is, like, I definitely use masturbation as a tool to manage my energy. Because after 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of sort of building up what they call semen retention, there's generally, like, I can get pretty trigger happy because it's just a lot of fiery energy that a lot of men don't know how to manage it, and so they just end up masturbating a lot. But ejaculation and orgasm can be separated in the man. So that's the final bit of gateways of release. It's a little touch on it. There's some solutions, and finally, another solution would be a nerve tonic that is skull cap. Scutellaria lateriflora is a good one. Valerian's not necessarily good for this, but valerian's a good sedative for those that are overweight and need a little more circulation. If you're young, if you're thin and small and wiry and nervous, valerian will not help you. Skull cap is the only one there. Lobelia is a good herb to lower tension in the system. Lobelia inflata, it's the whole plant. And just general, celery and lettuce, good plants. If you want to make an appointment with me, there's a set of foods you can take that are sort of nerve calming. And then finally, for today, we are heading on the track to end a little earlier, is the 21-day journal. So I can't tell you how helpful these are. It's like I was trying to hold myself accountable. So enemas and green juice Sunday, not going to happen today, day 7. Keeping my goals in mind, maintaining inner peace. I had raw liver and raw salmon sushi earlier, sticking to my raw today. Like I said, my stimulant use is ratcheted down a little bit each day, and I'll be ready to jump off, maybe even tomorrow or the next day, jump off from no caffeine and just jump off into kratom, and then drop the kratom and see with no stimulants at all. We'll see how that goes. Been managing well on that front. To report back to my crowd, my cannabis use yesterday was more conscious, and probably cut it in a third. It's not much, but it's definitely coming back to my, I haven't been willing to use orally, because I've been used a lot orally, then it just is too saturating to the system. So that's the 21 days. So tomorrow, I'm gonna start the week 2 guidelines, so we can look at that real quick. For me, it's week 2. If you're still in week 1, then So the theme for week 2 is accelerate chelation and binding. So most of the recipes on here have some kind of soluble fiber. Soluble fiber is like a sponge to carry stuff out, so you poop it out, it doesn't get reabsorbed in the portal circulation. So the best is the oil pulling is one of the best. Sea vegetables, chia seeds, eggplant, apples, all of these are great. Cooked onions. There's the general veggie list. I have a radish, beet, and onion salad waiting for me. I was not eating much yesterday. I think I mentioned that and so week 3 is bind heavy metals, toxins, and dysfunctional biofilm. Then clean up the mess the old tenants made. That's week 2. Could get rid of that. And then the last one here is the esoteric overview of the fall season. So The thing for tomorrow we're going to talk about, but I didn't get in today, is how poor circulation leads to water retention. Poor circulation leads to water retention. And guess what? Stress is involved with that, folks. Stress and mineral balance. So if you wanted to get access to this, it's in the fall cleanse. So you can get access to this, even the free people can get access to this. So this time of year, if you want to read this as I go, I'm not going to read it because people generally just read it anyway, but fall's like this. You're squeezing the sponge of all the summer water and the heat, and it squeezes out everything, and you end up kind of dry, like it's a dry sponge, more vata. It's the most nerve deranged season of the year because things are dry. So it's important that you oil your body down. You can even do that during the cleanse, oil your body down, even with olive oil, coconut oil, whatever. And also the vector of this year is the force is decay and dying. You know, you really see it in the colder climates right now and up in the mountains. But down by the coast, we don't get this as much because we have year-round growth and flowers and whatnot. But it is the vector of decay and dying in the fall. So we're letting go. Nature's naturally letting go. And then when we let go with the spicy food and with the out breath. So onions, garlic, ginger, they're healthy pungents to help let go. Pungent is the flavor of letting go. And the blood quality changes. If you think about fish swimming in icy cold water, they need antifreeze in their blood, and that's the omega-3s. Let me repeat that. Salmon and the cold water fish that we get omega-3s from, which are long, super unsaturated fats, they need those fats because they don't want their blood to freeze. And so omega-3s are a form of antifreeze, and they thin the blood. Doesn't that make sense? Then in the summertime, you don't want that thin blood because it'll boil out of your body, so you have more solid blood or a thicker blood quality. And that's what kind of is stated here. Then there's a few dietary choices that I mentioned. Here's all your pungents, gentle and otherwise. Here's some key vegetables. By the way, I made this for the first time 25 years ago. It's always updated. So licorice is a good one. It's a generally herb that generally softens everything. Miso and tempeh are helpful to further softening effects. We have all these fruits in season right now, pretty much everything around here on the West Coast. If you have slow digestion during this season, these are some ideas. These are the animal foods. If you're not cleansing, if you're cleansing, then I would stick to them raw. Here's some yin nurturing foods and herbs. If you're too expanded, these are some sour contractive foods. The pungents are your expansive, round, earth tone, smaller greens. So it's all laid out for you guys. And then there's the shopping list goals also. So I'm proud to say we're going to end this on a decent note of shortness today. Hope you enjoyed day 7, day 8. Hope you enjoyed the talk. And again, tomorrow we'll go over a little more into, we'll talk a little bit more about this, but you start to see like you need a lot more pieces than nutrition if you're going to be into health. You need a lot of inner awareness and why you're making the choices you make. And that's my first foundation, is the chooser, because the chooser determines our ratios of everything. And if we have too much carbohydrate, then our blood, the other part of foundation 1 is our blood sugar management. And the reason why they're related is because our blood sugar and our insulin levels are directly correlated to our choices. I call it a primary hormone, and then the other hormones are secondary to these choice things. So keep that in mind as you go about your day, and have a good one. And I'll look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow. And open office hours. If you did try to go on open office hours today, I apologize. I completely spaced out. Didn't even turn on the Zoom. And if you did come on, you can have a free 15-minute with me on Zoom. Just let me know. And then next office hours are Thursday, 5 to 7 p.m. Sign up at the Zoom link. It's out there in social media a little bit. It's out there in the emails. If you haven't gotten the Zoom link, then you have to have it to register. You can't just pop in, and let me know. Thank you, folks.